Welcome back to Your Money and Your Life. Well, is the share market the be-all and end-all for generating passive income? You know I love shares, but there are other ways to invest if you're not up for riding the volatility of the share market and prefer a more reliable monthly income. Aussies can now invest in what's called global private credit, one of the world's fastest growing asset classes in recent years. ASX-listed Pengana Capital Group is bringing this opportunity to our shores through term accounts like Term Plus. Pengana Chief Executive and Managing Director Nehemiah Richardson is here to unpack it for us. Nehemiah, good to see you. Welcome.
Thank you, David.
Global private credit has grown so much over the last couple of years. What is it? Explain it to us.
Yeah, so I guess the first thing to say, because I think it's not something that Australian investors are, the average investor is not familiar with. And I think that's because, well, let me start at the outset. It's lending. I think everybody knows what loans are.
Yep.
Okay, and it's loans that are the key driver of global private credit. But then if you look at our market, 90% of all loans in this country are underwritten by banks, 10% by private credit.
Right.
And then if you then go and look at global, the whole thing is flipped around. Okay, so 85% of corporate lending in the mid-market of the US and Europe, very large markets, is done by global private credit managers. 85%, 15% by banks. And that continues to grow.
Nehemiah, why is global private credit only just now being able to be accessed by average Australians?
Because historically, it's been the province of, say, the big end of town. So big institutions, your industry super fund. In fact, if you're in an industry super fund, I'd be flabbergasted if you didn't have part of your portfolio invested in global private credit.
Right.
Okay, but it hasn't been something that the average person can invest in. And what we did when we set up Term Plus was we really wanted to democratize that asset to give individuals the same quality that you can get as an institutional investor in a very easily accessible, digestible form.
So what's the minimum investment?
So the minimum investment is $2,000, and it takes, I as an investor in it, through my, personally, it took me 2 minutes to open an account. Through my self-managed super fund, it took less than 10 minutes to open an account. So very easily accessible. One of the great things about that income is its floating rate, meaning it's a fixed percentage above the RBA cash rate. So for 1 year money, that's 3% over the RBA cash rate, which is more than what I can get out of my bank account.
Okay, so tell us the difference between investing in shares. What are the different, how does it fit in your portfolio?
So if you're an investor who says, I don't really want the ride, or I want part of my portfolio to be very stable, and you get monthly income paid every month from the interest payments that come from that portfolio, it's a really nice way of diversifying your portfolio and getting peace of mind while still getting a really nice return.
Okay, give us an example of how a customer has benefited from going there rather than the other alternative income generating alternatives.
So I'll give you my personal example, okay, because at the end of last year, I sold my house in Melbourne because we're downsizing, my wife and I. And at some point, we're going to go back into the property market, for something that's more suitable for us. And so one of the things that was very important to me for part of the proceeds was to have it be very capital stable. I did not want to take downside risk on my capital, and I wanted to maximize the return on it. So keeping it in a bank account was just not enough for me. The interest rate was too low. So when I looked at what my alternatives were, and I guess you could say I eat my own cooking here, because what I really like is the yields that you get. So I'm an investor in Term Plus specifically because of the capital stability, that I see in it and the really nice income that I get.
Nehemiah, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you very much, David.